So let us continue with our lesson, and finally we are here with the MVVM architecture. And on the previous two lessons we have already learned about the MVC as well as a MVP. And finally we are here with the MVVM architecture in Android, and this will solve most of our problem that we are facing in the previous. And the MVVM is a recommended architecture from Android community, and most of the developer make use of a MVVM architecture. And it's a really useful architecture. It has lots of benefits and also has some drawbacks. So all the architecture that we have already learned has some drawbacks. So everything is not perfect. Everything has some drawbacks. So let's get started over here, and let's see. On the top level we have an activity and a fragment, and after that we have a view model with a live data, and thirdly we have a repository, and repository has a two branch. One is a local and another one is of a remote. So the local will be of your storage for a local database, which is of SQLite, as well as you may have a set preference and also file storage for your local storage. And for a remote data source we will have a web service from where we will get a data, and for that we will make use of a retrofit. So this will be our blueprint to work with our next project that we will be creating. We will make use of this architecture, or we will make use of this blueprint. So have a look on it. We will follow this blueprint to create our project that we are going to start from our next lecture. So our activity and fragment will be on the top. Then we'll have a view model. So each activity will have one view model that is going to communicate, and that view model will have a live data. So we can have as many as multiple live data depending on our UI element that we have in our activity. So each UI element we can have observable of our live data for each UI element. And the repository will be the middle person to handle all of our data requests. So it will handle like data request for a local as well as a remote data source. So whether we want to get the data from a local storage, or we want to get the data from a remote data source, or whether we want to store a data to our local storage or to store a data to a remote storage. So the repository will be middle person to handle that request. So the view model will request to save the data to the local storage, and this repository will be handling that the request that the view model has sent. And if you notice over here, the arrow is only in one direction, that it doesn't have an arrow on the upward direction. So which means that is all decoupled. So activity and fragment over here, which is completely decoupled from our view model, and the view model is also completely decoupled from the activity and the fragment. And this repository over here, or a model, our model is completely decoupled from a view model. So we have a principle of a separation of concern over here. So activity and fragment is not concerned about how to get and from where to get data, and this repository or a model over here is not aware of it's not aware of how to give the data to the UI or of activity or the fragment. So everything is decoupled over here. And another thing about the live data is that is observable. So we can create an observable of our live data in fragment or activity. So whenever the data changes, we can change our UI element depending on our live data that we are having over here. Whether we want to show a button, or we want to hide a button, or show a process dialog, hide a process dialog, that can depend on the live data we have in a view model. So view model live data is an observable. So observable means we can observe in our activity and a fragment. This was previously not available if we make if you saw in a model MVP and also MVC, we never make use of our view model over there, but here in the MVVM we make use of a view model. So let me try to edit this image over here. Let me try to draw a bit of it. So this section we can consider as a view. So this will be in our view, and over here this will be on our, let's draw a little bit. I can say this is a view model, and over here we can consider this one to a model. So let me draw a bit lousy drawing over here, and this one I can call it as a model. So model is same as your MVC and MVP. Model will be responsible for your handling all of your data, and the business logic and your data logic will be handled by a model. So it's quite same, or as a similarity between MVC as well as a MVP. And we have a view model which is new over here. View model has a live data, and we have a view which is an activity and fragment. So this is an MVVM architecture component in Android. So I hope you guys got it, and we'll be making use of MVVM in our coming project, and I want you guys to get used to it. What is in view over here, what is in view model over here, what is in live data over here, what we will be using for repositories, and the model for a local storage as well as a remote data source. So I hope you guys got it, and if you still have some question, do let me know and I will prepare another lecture for it. So for here you have to take note on a view model and a live data as well as a repository, which will be repository will act like a middle person to for your access of your data for local as well as remote. So it will be responsible from where to get the data. So repository will be a person that it will be handling from where to get and where to store your data, whether you want to store in a local or you want to store it in a remote web server. So the repository will be handling all of this request. So let's meet up in the next lecture, and we'll continue with our lesson, and we'll be continuing with our Android project from our next lecture. So till then, have a great day.